Okay, we're back after the holiday and everything like that. I went out and got a Christmas tree on Sunday and it was cold. And I wanted to start with to show you in Job the first earth age. And so that when we go into 1st and 2nd Peter, that you'll get more of it. So we're going to go from 37 to 38 in Job. And it talks about the first earth age. Hi, Daniel. Hey, everybody. See. Just wait a little bit. But it is really interesting and it is documented, and all we have to do is dig it out. So that's one of the big things, is when you do go over the Bible the first time, it's just kind of getting like this what's in it, and then when you go through it a couple more times, it's like, oh, okay, and then you start putting things more together. Is that even... You put things in together into perspective and are able to divide it a lot better than when you're first going through it. And that it's more of just getting acquainted with it. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Eagle. And I hope everybody had a good time this weekend. I know mine was kind of busy, but it was fun, and I kept thinking, why not? This might be the very last Thanksgiving. I mean, if things really start ramping up, this would be the last Thanksgiving, but not the last Christmas. It would be the last normal Christmas. If things get started in that earthquake, and we get to December, people will be trying to get it together, but there's this, people, you gotta get ready because it's gonna get crazy. Let's see. Hi, Deb. Let's see. So let's go ahead and start. This is on Job chapter 37 and 38, and it's pretty deep, but it's like, just let it flow. Okay, let me get this. All right, wait a minute. Let's go to, because I kind of want to get right to the point of it, let's go to 38 and try to go to 39. Sorry about that. 37 still has a lot. You want to go through 37 to 42 because it's God speaking that whole time, and once you absorb that, you get more trust. I wanted to ask, can everybody hear me? I mind for knowledge. Yeah, so Job 38, sorry. 37 is good, but 38 is a lot better. Kind of gets more to the point. All right, so verse 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkened counsel, words without knowledge? So you have to understand that, like, from chapter 5 and on, Esau's lineage came over to talk to him, and they stayed with him this whole time until like chapter 37 or so. They were trying to help him saying, but it was all like men's perspective and all these different things, not like being like God. I mean, just like theory and things like that. And so it was just a lot of people going, it's your fault, you know. All right. So that's what he's talking about in 2. So he's like, go to my word, you know, don't trust men and their teaching and yakking. 3, gird up thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. So anytime that you talk to God, he expects you to stand up, be aware, don't be afraid, just be a person. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? This is talking about when he first laid it in the first earth age. Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who has laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. But this is the first earth age when he created us. And in that time, we all praised it as one. Satan came in and he created his own spirituality, and he took like a third of them, of God's people, away. That's our struggle today, where we have a lot of those people here today that are going through this, that will probably be deceived. Or who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it. So, you know, the firmament, everything that was put together, that it was like paradise on earth, like the garden. But when in Noah's time, when that flood came, it broke that firmament. And that is why we have all the different kinds of weather patterns and things like that. When God puts together, he rejuvenates the earth again, it's going to be like it was in the first earth age, of paradise. And as we know, I mean, there was huge beasts at that time. I mean, they had the dinosaurs, all sorts. How big were people? I don't know, but you had the spiritual bodies of the people, our original bodies. There are like footprints left from that time era. They're really big. But also, so were the dinosaurs. Everything was a lot bigger and lusher. And, you know, we're just seeing just a very weak type of environment that that we live in now. I mean, even the time before Noah, we had the giants, people lived longer, and just a better place, more suitable for us. Okay, 10. And break up for it, or assigned it for a decreed place, and set bars and doors. You know, it's like everything has order to it. And said, hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud ways be stayed. So everything is in balance, and he's got it all in control. But did anybody make it? It was God who created everything. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the dayspring to know its place, times and seasons, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked or the lawless might be shaken out of it? And there is that time when it's coming, when that earth will be tilted 4 times, and then it stays there until Christ returns, and then it's emptied. And he brings it back up, it's reset, it goes back. That's just for the millennium, but in the eternity, it'll be set up straight again. But, and then everything, by then, there will be no evil, nothing, not even a reminder of it. It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, the darkness, and the high arm shall be broken. The principalities, this evil, Satan is the prince of the air, you know, it's just influencing people. If he were here de facto right now, I mean, there would be so much deception like it's coming when he really is here. Only his spirit and his evil spirits are here right now. And it's going to get a lot worse as we get closer. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in secret of the depth? I mean, the oceans, how they were all laid out and how they are now. I mean, from the first earth age to this earth age, everything was rejuvenated. And, you know, of course it's not going to look like it was in the first earth age because we're even tilted. So it was thought, I mean, it's something that people talk about, that the whole earth, as far as the land mass, was all in one at one time. And then at the time when all of this broke apart, it broke apart right, like setting destinations and places. I mean, you can see things that had belonged in Africa over in Arkansas, in the middle part of the country, where it's like all these fossils and things like that. And it's not a coincidence, because the way that these animals died, even just having grass in their mouth, and you know, it happened suddenly at that catable, when it was like wiped out, and earth was covered with water, then cleansing water, probably salt water, if you know, like ocean water, because it's an interesting thing with these artifacts. You know, they used to use salt to like preserve meat and stuff, and these bones are so old to still be around. And if you ever go over to Mud Fossil University on YouTube, it's so great. You can really, like, your eyes will be open to a lot of the things that we see today. They would look like just like a stone, but when you take a closer look to it, it could be a bone. It could be flesh that's been petrified. Just mountains that look like mountains, and it's a giant. This guy has had like things DNA tested, just always coming back to being human, you know. So it's like, what was in the first earth age, people were probably a lot bigger than we are now. I know that in the millennium, people's growth, I mean, we're all like the same age, but their stature, the more knowledge and understanding you have, the taller you grow. So it's how we were back then, having our normal regular bodies. We won't have that until eternity. So everything's going back to where it was without the evil. Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? So, you know, God had to, create this plan here after Satan's rebellion and the catable, which he had to destroy because it was so evil. So at this time, here we are, and what is right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And when people, even in the beginning, like, I'm sure that the first people, the ethnos, were already commanded, like told, they knew how to praise God. So they were doing all that as commanded. But then the eighth day creation with Ethadam, the man who would, from womb to womb, would birth Christ for the redemption plan. But when Satan and those fallen angels came down, that's when that corruption all really just began. But God had to have a holding place. They were held up for the angels specifically. But when the fallen angels came down, these people that followed him had to go someplace when they died. So there it is. When Christ died on the cross, he went all the way back and preached to all those people back there. And they were able to get out and be saved. But we're coming to the end of that, which is pretty amazing, because if you look at the start and how people started out, and here is the end, and we're right there at the end. And it's just, to me, it is so incredible. Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it all. Have you ever met a know-it-all? I have. Where is the way where light dwelleth? I mean, you have the sun set up perfectly in the position of the earth so that things grow and everything like that. The amazing thing is, even during the millennium time, we're not going to have the sun anymore. Nothing. It's all God's light that's going to be shining around. So think of like the healing light. I mean, the sunlight is so good for you. I mean, it makes you a lot healthier. But being there with God in the eternity, not needing sunlight or anything like that, I mean, it's going to be really amazing. Okay, sorry, I'll do this again. Where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the path to the house thereof. Knowest thou it because thou wast then born? Were you there, Job, when I created all this stuff? Or because the number of thy days is great? We're all limited. I mean, at the flood, after that, we were all limited to 120 years. But, lots of people don't even make it to 50, You get to 75, 80, and that gets pretty old for people. You hear someone maybe 100, but it's very rare. So our limit on here on earth is getting shorter and shorter. Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? And this kind of goes back into Enoch. Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of the battle of war? So right there, we're going to where the four winds blow at the time of Christ's return. So it's like, do you know from where you stand all the way to there? I mean, it really kind of humbles you, because you just live here, you don't know a lot, and then you die. It's like, I think the best thing you can do here now is just get that knowledge. Get as much knowledge out of it, as you can, you know, because the more knowledge you have, the better off you're going to be. 24. By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the west? Who hath divided a watercourse for the overflowing of waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder? So everything is in his control. And, if this was just chaos, it couldn't. I mean, people believing that we came from just a little tiny cell and all these other creatures, and you have this evolution. I mean, it's silly. To cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, on the wilderness wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth. So you could even think of that in a spiritual sense, as you're in dry land and you get that living water, and you have that light that flows over the buds of your minds, and you have just the right amount of water, and you just grow and mature. Hath the rain a father, or hath begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. I mean, you can look at Antarctica, and all that now is defying, and you see green, lush grass and things like that. I mean, God is revealing a lot of things to us now, The Kenites are trying to keep that secret from us, but, as we go further, we're going to learn more. Canst thou bind the sweet influence of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Moseroth in his season? Or canst thou guide Arcticus with his sons? So that's just talking about the sons and, our systems, how they used to go by the stars for prophecy and reading the word, really. And that's definitely gone away with now, but nothing really written, but with the help of God, being able to understand this stuff. Knowest thou the ordinance of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? So, there's different parts of the earth too, and if it were all one at one time, this is kind of interesting. I was thinking of, if all the water was above in the firmament, and that one part was the earth, it would have been a lot smaller. Maybe not. But when, that catapult, it just tore things apart. And it was because he wanted to separate the nations and the people. And, because when you get that together, there's war and things like that. Canst thou send lightnings that they may go and say unto thee, here we are? Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts, or who hath given understanding to the heart? Only God can give that to you. That is, all knowledge and wisdom comes from him. So seek it. Seek it with all your heart and mind, and ask the Holy Spirit reveal it to you. Who can number the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay the bottles of heaven? When the dust groweth into hardness, and the clods cleave fast together. I mean, there's just so much to these Earth, and here we have people trying to go to Mars. But I think we, as a people, know a lot. Especially through the 17 and 1800s, there was a lot of technology, a lot of things that were found that've been hidden away. But I think that's going to come back. We're going to be able to get that information. When these fallen angels come down too, they're going to be offering a lot of information, and it's going to seem like it is the millennium. So this, I think it'll be released as far as tidbits here and there, and you're going to have to try to search for it. But with anything, you know, if you ask God, He's going to direct you where that is at. Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetite of the young lions? When they couch in their dens and bide in the covert to lie in wait? Who provideth for the raven his food, when his young ones cry out unto God? They wander for lack of meat. So everything, I mean, just the way this planet is set up, and how God even feeds the birds, dresses them. You know, people wonder, well, what am I going to do, you know, when all this starts happening? Well, you do have to prepare, but don't worry, do the best you can. And God knows. I mean, He knows even before you ask. That's the amazing thing about it, you know. There's just, let's see, I guess we can go to this one. There was one verse I was looking for. And I lost it. But it talks. Oh, yeah. It is in 39. Sorry about that. I just like cluster read this, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, that is so cool, and things like that. I thought, okay, let's go to 39, verse 1. Knowest thou the time when the wild goats of the rocks bring forth, or canst thou mark when the hinds do calves? Everything has a purpose, a time, and He created that to do exactly like it was. Canst thou number the months that they fulfill, or knowest thou the time when they bring forth? They bow themselves, they bring forth their young ones, they cast out their sorrows, you know, and labor, you know, it's like the hardest thing in the world. And it brings joy out there afterwards, though. Their young ones are in good liking. They grow up with corn. They go forth and return not unto them. So they grow up just like we do, and they start their own families. I mean, everything, if you look at nature, you can see a lot of God in it. And, you know, you can tell what is right and what is wrong, you know. There's just, you know, like, say, like a horse and a donkey don't naturally go together, you know, or a cow and a horse, you know, they don't naturally go together unless, you know, it's like something that is forced, trying to do like a hybrid type of thing. Who hath set out the wild ass free, or who hath loosed the bands of the wild ass? Whose house I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling. He scorneth the multitude of the city, neither regarding he the crying of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches for every green thing. Will the unicorn, which is basically an ox, be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the ox with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great, or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into the barn? So, a lot of people just needlessly worry. Yes, we have to plan ahead and think and things like that. But in the end, God provides for his own. He provides for his animals. He loves his animals. And people have asked me, are animals up in the millennium? Yes, they are. You'll see your little furry friends again. Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich, which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warmeth them in dust, and forget, this is kind of funny, and forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them? Ostriches are kind of funny little birds, or big birds, and I don't know, I have heard that in the past people have actually ridden them, that they're so big. She is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear, because God hath deprived her of wisdom. So they're not too smart. Neither hath he imparted to her understanding. So, she kind of absent-mindedly drops an egg, covers it up, and leaves, and then that little bird, gets up. But it's always the same. The species within the species is always the same. Okay, what time she lifteth up herself on high, she scorneth the horse and his rider. Hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible. So on Christ's return, these war horses, they're up there. These white war horses are before the throne of God. They're in this pasture, and they're already anticipating for that one person who will be riding it. And there's a lot of horses. He paweth in the valley and rejoiceth his strength. He goeth on to meet the armed men. He mocketh at fear and not affrighted, neither turneth he back from the sword. The quiver rattleth against him, the glittering spear, shield. He swalloweth the ground with fierceness and rage, neither believeth he that it is the sound of the trumpet. So, this is what's coming back. But not only that, he made humans as in general. I mean, you have 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, 2 ears, But each one has their own unique DNA. They have their very own fingerprints. They have their very own spirit that God utilizes with each and every person. People who are unmovable, I mean, not what I'm saying is that sway back and forth, that don't have the discipline and the fortitude to get through these end times, they will be swaying back and forth, not understanding. And with these types of knowledge and things like that that's going to be coming out, people, going to running to and fro with this knowledge. What is real? What isn't real? Well, your reality, your mind is being opened up now. Nothing is going to surprise you. But with all these other people, they're going to be very shocked. I mean, I can even see it in my mind how people will be. And it's like they'll be looking at you like, why aren't you? Well, God has given you this knowledge, this understanding, so you'll be able to stand against Satan himself. And nothing can deter you, just like these war horses that are coming down. They're made for that very day to come down and do war. And just like us, we're made specifically to do this. He saith among the trumpets, ha ha, and he smelleth the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shouting. Doth the hawk fly by thy wisdom and stretch her wings toward the south? I mean, everything has a reason, and everything is built specifically by his hand. Doth the eagle mount up at thy command and make her nest on high? Yeah, she is up on high. Not very many predators can get in there, but if a predator does get in there, they're pretty much dead. She dwelleth and abideth on the rock, upon the crag of the rock in the strong place. This is where we need to be. We need to be on that rock, that foundation that doesn't move. From thence she seeketh the prey, and her eyes behold far off. Just like us, we're looking ahead. We're planning. We know what's going to happen. We're preparing. We got this. From thence she seeketh the prey, and her eyes behold far off. Her young ones also suck up blood, and where the slain are, there she is. And it's so true, because in the end, God wins. And he's not playing around, but he is very patient. And he wants you to know that he made it all. He wrote this. He told Job this so that you can read it, so that you can understand just how far he's gone. I mean, and he sees you as one who is in his army. He's preparing the war horses. He's preparing those who are up there in paradise now to come down for war. And he's preparing you every day. Every day. You get closer and closer. So don't give up. There's people, I mean, even with me, it's like they try to discourage you or trip you up. Just stay strong and stand your ground, because everything that's happening now is kind of precursor to really what you're going to go up against, but 100,000 times more. So we got a lot to do, but there really is not anything that we can't handle. Hi, Kim. There is absolutely nothing at all that we can't handle. Let's see. Hi, Eagles. Hi, Roxanne. The Milky Way, the crack in the firmament. Yeah, I mean, there is just so much out there. And if you use the Bible as a base, when you go into these other, like, apocryphic types of books, you can use that as a base to say, wait a minute, is this getting too far out here? Is this the truth? You know what I mean? Because some of them can get pretty far out there. But it doesn't hurt you to go out there. If you have a strong base, you know, I would definitely suggest to go out and look at the other books. And the one in the Apocrypha, like, there's a book of Daniel that just, it goes on from the canon book, but it's really interesting. It says it a little bit differently, but I think it's more of telling you what's going to happen. but you have to be able to understand just how God puts prophecies together, and that's kind of what we're doing right now, is getting that base knowledge. Is Aaron here? There's Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Thanks for the... Yeah. Aaron's kind of the guy who puts all the information in. We're going to go over to First Peter tomorrow, but I wanted to put the first earth age down in Job so that you get a deeper understanding as to Jeremiah too. I mean, it's kind of all over the place, but it really sums it up in those places. That so you kind of understand what happened, what dispensation that we're talking about. You know, when you go back and it's like when the dinosaurs were here, you know, that was the first earth age and it was destroyed. I mean, you can just look at the fossils. They all died about the same time. I mean, it can go so deep, and it's like never ending. Let's see, Eagle, tonight, lunar, I think it's a timeline for crossing a marker, maybe more separation of the wheat and tares. Yeah, you're really going to see that, and as we get closer, you'll see. Right now we're in the squeezing stage. It's like, but then it's like, so you'll see a lot of that. And, you know, your family, you know, just like I said, they'll try to knock you off course and say, I mean, with me, they're like, oh, you know, you just read too much into this and things like that. I'm like, well, you don't enough. That's the problem. It's kind of funny. Jupiter-Saturn alignment coming in December 21st. Don't keep your seeds in the barn. Go and plant them. That's right. You guys are so awesome. Let's see. We'll have to watch that solar eclipse. Where's it going to be at? Is it that one that does the cross like over like middle America? I saw something kind of like that. I don't know if it's the same thing. The Orion belt is Christ Jesus' belt. It is just everything that you see God made. So of course he's going to protect you. There's no doubt in my mind. I have the book called The Glory of the Stars. Ah! That is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, guys, get out there and just open your minds. E. Raymond Cap is really good. If you guys, you know, get some books by him. I mean, he is so good. He's got biblical numericals and just all sorts of stuff that will open up your mind to, well, the Bible just isn't here. There's, every word is accounted for. Every verse has a meaning. Everything has the reason why it's set up the way it is. And it was divinely written. That is 1/20/21. In the States, then 23/24. Cool. Oh, over there in Africa. I dreamed people were in water and people were sick and sores, but Christians were in the water with them, praying and healing in the name of Jesus. Yeah, we have the power through Christ, and you have to build up your faith. I mean, the prophets, they went to a prophet school. They studied. long and hard. And Elisha went to one. And when he was done, Elijah, and then Elisha came after him. Remember, he got the double blessings, but that's all you have to do. And you got to be strong, because when this stuff does start coming up, I mean, you'll get all sorts of wishy-washy people and wanting to argue with you and just being attacked for what you believe. But it's like, just stand strong. Just have that trust, no matter what. They're just words, you know. And people can be mean, but it's just like, don't waste your time with those kinds of people. Getting to the point where it's like, that big divide is coming. And I was going to say, YouTube has been unsubscribing people again. About 3 or 4 people told me that they were unsubscribed. So check to see if you're still subscribed and hit that button for the bell. And I'm not surprised. The 12 tribes of Israel are written in the skies. Yeah. There's just so much. We don't, I mean, with like the public schools and stuff, you know, they don't really teach much that you really need to get along in life. I mean, I think the spiritual side is truly the most important, and then God will help you, give you knowledge, you know, for, you know, all the other stuff. But we have gone so far away from that it's like, you know, you mention the word God and people are like offended, you know, or you're a Christian. I go, well, but thank God that they're going to be divided up. So the right and the left, and they'll go their way, we'll go ours. So, but you got to let them go. Silver blue water, yeah, I saw children, but soon as they were blessed, they turned adults. Wow. Yeah. And I can tell you, the more that you study, you'll have prophetic dreams, and your mind will be working it out as you sleep. That really happened and helped April. And April and I kind of put our stuff together and just to figure out the timelines. And, you know, so she had a lot of these visions and things like that. So it's kind of cool. But then they kind of stopped because she wasn't going through the Bible as much. So she's going to try to get back into it. But, you know, she's got a family and things like that. So it's totally understandable. Let's see. Hi, Aaron. Everybody, it's good to be back learning God's Word. I'm going to send a good link called True News. Oh, yeah. True News is good. You can get some really good, accurate type of information. And being watchmen and stuff, being able to discern the times that we live in, you know, how close are we getting, the signs to it, you know. As you see more chaos in the world, you know, time is getting shorter, because this is really as good as it gets. It's gonna get bad. So anyway, guys, I guess that's it. Tomorrow is First Peter, and I just wanted to get that in there so that you have this. Just you can go back and just go over it yourself and get that deeper meaning. Sometimes my mind never stops when I sleep. The Bible verse repeated over and over. Yeah. And there's something on there that's like a meditation in itself, you know. There's just a lot of things you can meditate, and then you get that enlightenment, that bing, and it's just like, oh gosh, yes. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I was kind of stuck in one thing for the longest time, and I'm like, why is this? And all of a sudden it just like, oh, okay. And then it just like the floodgate comes out, and it's like, oh, all this wealth of information, you know, that just putting the pieces together. So guys, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be on First Peter, maybe First and Second Peter, depending on how fast we can get through them. Hard to sleep for 4 weeks till last night. I'm glad you got your sleep back. These frequencies too can cause a lot of sleep disturbances. So, you know, turn off your internet maybe. Okay, so see you tomorrow at 4 Pacific Standard Time, and glad you had a good night's sleep. And we'll be back at it.